Private Equity Unchained, I found a fascinating book because it really went into detail as to the conceptual underpinnings for why private equity makes sense. And there's a perennial, rather circular debate as to the social utility of private equity and whether it's a boom or bubble in the FT and all of this. And so I think it's very important for people to have a kind of a grounding as to why it is a well-adapted structure and what is the problem that it's addressing, both venture capital and private equity. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's go back to the symposium. There's always this pre-symposium presentation before the dinner, where I try to bring in people who shed another light of this without being directly related to private equity. And one of the 2 years ago, we had Florian Artinger from the Max Planck Institute who was talking about heuristics. And that brings us back to the discussion around data. The idea of data is very sophisticated models that help you to understand what's going on. I mean, to cut a long story short, Artinger and Gigerenzer, who is the head of his department at Max Planck Institute, they are arguing in situations of high complexity, of high uncertainty, heuristics work better than very sophisticated methods.
So simple strategies.
Simple strategies. Simple. They are robust and can deal with many situations, and in many situations they are close to the optimum solution. Yeah. And he gave one example which I found quite funny, where he was saying there's the argument that over millions of years of evolutions, human beings have learned to solve a differential equation in order to be able to catch a ball. But there's a very simple heuristics behind this, that you look at the ball and try to keep the angle constant, and by keeping through running towards the ball or moving back from the ball, and essentially it is converging to the point where you are able to catch the ball. Very simple heuristics, no great differential equation behind this. And he was saying actually the problem is finding such a heuristics. Which is robust. And that brings me back to the limited partnership structure. That was another presentation we had at a symposium where we were talking about the long history of the limited partnership structure. Hans Lovrek gave the presentation and said he was very much interested in medieval Venice.
We've had Hans on this show, so you can.
So I can just recommend anybody to watch his podcast with you. But the structure goes back much further. Upon Arab traders in the desert have used this over centuries before the Venetians have adopted this for the trade journeys. It is a kind of textbook solution for a situation where there's an asymmetric relationship, and you have traveling partners and sedentary partners. The sleeping partners, they stay at home. They just give you the money. Whereas the traveling partners, they go out and take the risk. They don't have any money, but they are rewarding handsomely. And in fact, there's a kind of generational model behind this. After having successfully completed many of these trade journeys, then you become a sleeping partner and let others do the job. But this asymmetric sharing, the carried interest behind this, that is an age-old approach of dealing with this. And what are we dealing with this? We are dealing with a journey into the unknown. This may be a trade journey, but this can also be a journey into innovation. It is over a long time frame. Let's say when you are doing a trade journey on sea, the sleeping partner certainly cannot call you back. So he needs to trust you. Again, trust is very important, and he remains committed over this time frame. When investors who invest in a venture capital fund, their capital is going to be locked up. If they intervene in between the usual lifetime of a fund and ask for their money back, they most probably will not get back a lot. They need to trust the venture capitalists to do their job and to return the money at the end. So this limited partnership structure is essentially the heuristics, the robust heuristics humanity has found to deal with situations of exploration, of discovery, of innovation. Interestingly enough, there are many in the industry who say, let's do away with this limited partnership structure. It binds up capital for too long, and we want to make this more liquid, and actually we'll probably find an alternative to this. But I think they are shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, these things are features. They're not bugs, and this
They
is
are
the
not
danger.
bugs. Exactly. What is perceived to be a bug is in fact a feature of the structure.
Yeah, I find this decision-making under uncertainty, which you introduced me to, I find fascinating. And Gigerenzer did the kind of the practical experimentation, I believe, that demonstrated the ideas. Was it Herbert Spencer that came up with the idea that individuals don't optimize, they satisfy. Yes. They find a good enough solution. And I think that irritates a lot of people in the finance industry because they always feel like they're data-driven and everything is razor-sharp and optimized. And then they're dealing with these kind of really clunky structures where, there's this market 80-20 rule and actually they could tweak it and fine-tune it and make it better. Yeah. But actually in a complex environment, simplicity is a virtue.
No, I think what fascinated people a long time during the 90s were the hedge funds, this boom of the hedge fund industry, and driven by the Black-Scholes model and the efficient pricing of derivatives, and this idea that there must be something comparable like this in the private equity world. It's has become maybe the holy grail here, but it does not exist.
Yeah.
In the private equity industry, satisficing is close to optimal.